for families whose loved ones really were victims of kidnappings, some of which even helped organize searches in hopes they could find Carlee alive so her family that a kidnapper was on the loose using a small child as bait. Numerous law enforcement agencies, both local and federal, began working tirelessly not only to bring Carlee home to her family, but locate a kidnapper that we know now never existed. Many private citizens volunteered their time and energy into looking for a potential kidnapping victim that we know now was never in any danger. This story opened wounds for families whose loved ones really were victims of kidnappings, some of which even helped organize searches in hopes they could find Carlee alive so her family would not, that they felt when their loved ones never returned home. As you know, actions can have consequences, and that's why we're here today. Carlee Russell tried to sell $1,000 bond, falsely incident, a Class A misdemeanor with a $1,000 bond. Each of these charges carry up to a year in jail and potential fine of $6,000 upon conviction. Ms. Russell was released from jail after posting bond. We initially presented this case to District Attorney Lanice Washington, who agreed to handle prosecution through district court. After consulting with the Circuit Court of Jefferson County, Bessemer Division, the case was referred back to municipal court for charging because the only applicable charges were misdemeanors. Judging from the amount of phone calls and emails that we've received from people all over the country, I know many are shocked and appalled that Ms. Russell is only being charged with 2 misdemeanors, despite all the panic and disruption her actions caused. Let me assure you, I too share the same frustration, but existing laws only allow the charges that were filed to be filed. I can tell you that I will be contacting our state legislatures on behalf of law enforcement in Montgomery and asking them to look at this law applied to these facts and urge them to add an enhancement to current legislation when somebody falsely reports kidnapping or another violent crime. Because of the attention this case has garnered, we've requested Attorney General Steve Marshall's office adopt this case, and they've agreed to do so. The Hoover Police Department wants to thank everyone that assisted us from the beginning. Joining me at the podium today is State of Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall.
So I guess I'm only going with a couple of misdemeanors.
By commending Hoover Police Department Chief Durgis for his leadership in this investigation. Obviously, this captured many's attention as a result of not only the allegations themselves, but also the concern about a possible victim in being able to return her home. The work that was done by the Hoover Police Department's monumental lift, and results of that we're seeing fruition. Many and women of both state and federal and look forward to bringing this case to fruition. One thing I would add is that we don't spent resources expended as a result of this investigation. And not only that, but the many men and women who are civilians at war, those yellow vests on a hot afternoon and evening looking for to be of us. We intend to prosecute this case, look forward to this investigation to determine whether or not there are any additional charges that need to be brought, and we'll evaluate those as the facts are presented.
I agree. Mandy.
This time we'll open the floor to questions. If you'll please raise your hand and identify yourself and your affiliation when I call.
It did 42 for Mr. Attorney. What is it about this that made it to the level to where
Cases across the state.
Good question.
We have have jurisdiction throughout for both misdemeanors and felonies. And when Chief Justice asked for our assistance, we were more than happy to be able to.
The county be able to meters like a case like this?
It's not uncommon.
Right here.
Keith Mims, WAGG 610, 100.1 FM, Summit Media. Chief, this question is for you.
Yes.
What time was Carlee arrested today with her attorney, and has she made bail?
She has. She was processed in our facility within the past hour.
Do you expect any charges to be forthcoming with her parents, or is this just all on Carlee at this point?
So at this point, and again, I think anything is, all as the Attorney General said, their team will also be searching through our files, and we'll find out what they say.
Carol.
Carol Robinson with AL.com. Have you, since we spoke last in the press conference, been able to retrace where she was during the 49 hours she was missing, and have you determined if she was with anyone else during that time?
We have not found anything out on either one of your two questions.
Right here.
Valerie Bell, ABC 3340 News. Has there been any decision about a possible civil suit against Carlee and or her family? Also, what impact would this have on Hoover Police Department filing a suit have on the criminal case as well?
Yeah, we have not discussed that. Of course, we talked about the hours of overtime and all the significant resources that we used. And we'll certainly be talking to the Attorney General's office about possibly getting some of those funds returned to us.
Lisa.
Lisa Crane, WGTN 13. In an earlier press conference, you outlined some items she had taken from her employer. Any potential theft charges for that?
Those would have taken place in another jurisdiction, so we would not have charges ourselves.
Ashlee Robinson, WBRC. Chief, do you mind repeating those charges and fines one more time for us?
Sure. False reporting to law enforcement authorities, Class A misdemeanor with $1,000 bond. Falsely reporting an incident, a Class A misdemeanor with a $1,000 bond.
Chief, I know you mentioned this the last time we were together. Just wondering if you have any update on an idea of the cost that the Hoover Police Department expended in those 48, 49 hours Carlee Russell was missing. And one final question, do you at this point have any more information if Carlee Russell acted alone or anyone helped her?
Yeah, we have not finished, obviously, the 49 hours. We've been certainly busy since her return, so I still don't have a total on that, and we don't have any idea where Carlee
Yeah, I
Russell
think
was
so too.
49 hours.
Right here.
Keith Mims, WAGG 610. Chief, let me ask you this. Going forward, there's been a lot of concern in the community as per young Black and brown females being reported missing. Would Hoover and other agencies have the same fervor going forward?
I think the same guy asked the same question during the last press conference.
Absolutely. This, as I said initially, our focus was bringing Carlee home when she got home. And then our focus has been to find out if there was a kidnapping. We find out there's not. We work every case like all of the law enforcement does. So I don't have any concern anywhere that would be an issue.
And can I echo what Chief said? I've been in law enforcement 27 years.
Yes, sir.
No law enforcement throughout this state. I've never seen anybody interested in the color of your skin in investigating a criminal case.
Thank you.
And I expect, regardless of your gender, race, and that report is filed, law enforcement's going to do its best.
Valerie Bell, ABC 3340. What was her emotional state when she arrived to the jail today, and is she seeking any help at this point in time?
I was not there, so I really can't tell you exactly, and I really don't know anything else.
All right, last question.
Ashlee Robinson, WBRC. Chief, what are next steps after this? What is going to happen next?
Well, right now, the Attorney General's office attorneys will start dealing with our detectives and going through case files and preparing prosecution, I presume.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Will y'all be releasing a mugshot?
Yes, we will momentarily.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that'll be all over the place. Her mugshot. Be all kinds of memes associated with
Breaking
that.
news on WFLA now. Here is JB Buno.
What do y'all think? Two misdemeanor
Carlee
charges.
Russell earns set in on misdemeanor charges after an arrest warrant is obtained in Alabama. And now the legal process will play forward, as of course, so many call for her to be held responsible for
Allegedly,
making up
what are
a
you
story
talking about?
to law enforcement. Hello, folks.
She
JB here
admitted
with
she
you live
made
on
it up.
WFLA Now, jotting down a lot of notes here after this press conference, and we're going to get to your reaction. This part of our live stream is now really focused
I want to hear
on your
I want to hear
reactions,
some
and
of the
that's why we have
comments.
our hashtag system. You can use hashtag
But what do y'all
KJB
think about
if
this
you
so
want
far?
your
Let me
opinion to be
turn the
heard.
volume down
Do
a
you
bit.
agree with law enforcement? Do you agree with what was stated? The 2 misdemeanor charges related to false reporting of an incident.
Yeah, she was basically given
As
2
far as your
misdemeanor
knowledge of the
charges:
Carlee Russell
false
story,
reporting to law
do you
enforcement and
agree with
falsely
how the
reporting
legal
an
process
incident.
is playing out in the
But if
state
that's
of
all they
Alabama,
have,
based on
I'm not sure what
our
Alabama's laws are,
conversation
but if that's all
ahead
they
of
have, I
this
guess that's all they
press
can go with.
conference,
But
I think it's
you would
fair
think
to
that
say that a
they
lot
would
of
be
our
able to
commenters are
press
going to agree
some
with almost
stronger
every word,
charges,
if not
because
every word
you're looking at
of what
a
JB
kidnapping
had to say there,
allegation,
at the press
you know,
conference with the Hoover
and
Police
all the
Department.
resources. You would think
Perhaps
that it would
one
be
of the
more,
most
that they would be able
interesting
to
parts of this
come up
press
with some
conference
stronger
that I
charges
circled
against
here
her.
in my notes is the police chief indicating that he is going to be communicating with legislators in Alabama, changing law to ensure that there are type of behavior, in essence, lying to law enforcement, making up a story, and wasting
I've been saying that for years.
all of these resources on an investigation that should have never taken place. That to me was really highlights the frustration here from the Hoover Police Department, that not only are they proceeding with filing charges, but they want to change the law in Alabama after the
They
Carlee
should.
Russell investigation
I
to
agree,
again
Mandy.
make sure that similar acts
2
don't
misdemeanor
occur
charges
in
is
the future.
nothing. Nothing.
The charges.
I mean, the whole nation was wondering what happened to this young
maximum
lady.
penalty of a year behind bars.
I heard like
whether or not
$60,000 was
is
donated to
downgraded
Crime
to
Stoppers in order
community
for them to
service,
help find
whatever
her.
it might be. Look, it
I think a
all
GoFundMe
depends
was
on
started for her
whether
family.
or not
I
she's
believe. I'm not
guilty or
sure.
guilty, and how the legal
I'm not
process
sure
will
if that's the
develop,
case, or
whether
if
or
it
not there
was,
will
if the
be
money's been
a loophole
returned.
that is reached.
But I've long said
And
that
since we have the knowledge, of
if
course,
you
that Carlee
try to
Russell provided
press
the statement where
charges or
she admitted to wrongdoing,
falsely
you would
create a report,
think that her attorney is going to,
you
at the
should
very
get the
minimum,
charge that
explore
you were
reaching a deal, if
trying to
provided, with the
imply, that you
opportunity
were
for a
trying
deal,
to
with the district attorney's
implicate
office,
someone
but
else
we
on.
do not
That's
know
what I've always
that
thought.
is going to be taking place.
I
In,
think
in,
be a good
weeks
deterrent.
and months ahead. Carlee herself waiting for a mugshot. See
Connection,
if anyone
y'all.
else
So I
has
apologize.
any of the other reporters that I follow if they have a mugshot yet. Because look, if you are
They said
booked
one
and
will be up shortly.
processed,
Well, I'm pulling up everything. If you lost me there. There we go. Must be peak internet times that everybody and their mom is on.
let's go to the comment section as
This
we
is really
wait
nuts.
for the mugshot to be posted. And people, of course, it'll be public record, so people will have the opportunity to see Carlee Russell, with their own eyes, in light of what has transpired. And look, I know from covering stories when it's a high-profile arrest, this mugshot is going to be
Everywhere.
thoroughly analyzed by the social media audience.
You can say that again. He's trying to
we're
keep
going-
it clean.
People will instantaneously, within milliseconds, form an opinion based on seeing that mugshot. So that mugshot, when it is released, we'll have it for you here on stream. In the Alabama
Having a
jail
bad connection
system.
now. Forgive
I have
me.
not yet seen that mugshot posted. When it is in fact posted, I'll bring it up here live on stream. So we'll stay here with you live for a bit longer. So let's go here to the comments. If you use hashtag KJB, I can animate your comment on screen. If you don't want your comment to be animated, just don't use.
Oh, I agree. I agree, Eureka.
Lori says, I can't believe they still can't figure out where she was the whole time. That question was asked.
All they had to do is ask her.
49
Just
hours.
ask her.
People, the reporters in the room asked again,
Maybe she's not.
where was Carlee? Have investigators, now we have charges filed, have they determined, was she hiding out in the woods? Did she go
She was at a
somewhere?
hotel.
There was Google searches
She
for
was
a
hanging out with
bus
some
ticket.
dude or somebody.
Nashville. I think it's fair to bus ticket, and had made it all the way up to Nashville. Pretty fair to say that investigators likely at this stage would have that.
Must be a bad connection. It's pretty bad on my end. Hopefully it's not so
Yeah,
bad for
my
y'all.
team is getting a hold of me. We're all, waiting for this mug to be released when it's public.
Let me bring this up here.
Back channel nor when it's posted public.
Imagine if it was a white woman who faked her kidnapping and alleged that it was a black man or black person in general who had kidnapped her. It was on his neck or whatever. Just imagine the pushback. Imagine the outrage that would be going on right now if that was the case.
Yeah. So
but
comments
would it being a white guy
YouTube live comments
alleged to be had been the one who kidnapped her, that she lied about? No one cares, as far as the general public anyway. No one cares. Same double standards that we have in our society. Everybody can hate on the white man. Everybody, it's okay, fair game. But say something about a minority, oh my gosh, you'll have hell to pay. I think it should be the same response all the way around.
Exposure.
You lie, you falsify information, then you should get hemmed up big time. I can't help but think that there's some stronger charges that they can find. I'd have to look up Alabama's law.
That just that took off. One of the reasons why was because the headline was certainly attention grabbing. A woman who claims to see a toddler on the side of the road and stops, calls 911. Right thing. Like any one of us, you could almost envision driving, late at night, seeing a toddler, stopping your car, calling 911. My goodness, doing everything you could to help that person, and then for that person to vanish. There was a mystery component to this.
Okay, I got a comment. I have to say something about
and people are asking this question
about the comment on the screen. I got to pause this. And I know this guy isn't going to give the proper answer because you got a white guy on TV right now speaking on issues as related to black folks. Somebody said, "Hey JB, why are actual missing black women ignored while this woman is everywhere now?" Actually, I can't say I agree. Well, you know what? I'll agree to some degree. I'll agree to some degree that it is true that a lot of crime in the black community, I'll just put it as that, is ignored. And I've said this time and time again. When you talk about the crime in the inner city, especially if you're someone who's not in that community, white person, maybe your political affiliation makes you unpopular to some, or you're called a white supremacist. You're alleged to be deflecting from the true issue, which is typically white supremacy and police brutality. That's what we're told is the real issue. But when you don't talk about, so if you listen to these people say, you have no right, why are you bringing this up? Just a few weeks ago, months, maybe a month and a half ago, with Bill Maher, maybe 2 months ago, Bill Maher talked about black crime, talked about the crime in the inner city. All over Twitter, MSNBC, they were talking about it, mocking him, saying, well, what is he talking about? There are people out there. Because he says, why aren't more people, in particularly celebrities, talking about this issue? So you had people all over criticizing him, saying that he didn't know what he was talking about, and that there are people trying to fix the problem. But where they go wrong is when they ignore what he was saying about the point that he was making was, why aren't there more celebrities bringing this stuff up? That's where he went wrong. That's where they went wrong. So when this person states that that it's ignored, I think it's politically incorrect to talk about it. For the most part, those are my thoughts. It's politically incorrect to talk about it, and if you do talk about it, you're called a hater.
About missing persons cases in the United States. Missing persons cases should be equally good, and mental health issue for help to prove these things. We talked about this on the previous live stream. If your defense is a mental health issue, you can't just say mental health problem, we can't charge her.
Because in reality,
you have to demonstrate
a high degree of the people that I dealt with throughout my career had some form of mental health problem. But if you commit a crime, you still commit a crime, and you need to be dealt with.
Ironclad defense. It would be, it's not right to people who actually do suffer from mental illness for this just to be automatically introduced into the legal defense just because it might, get you out of jail time or community service.
And that's what they want.
Or financial gifts kind. And the attorney, Emory Anthony, I'm sure that they're going to explore every option on the table, but make up a mental health issue. I'm not saying that, look, I'm not saying that Carlee Russell did suffer from a mental health issue. I'm not saying that she didn't. We don't know. We haven't heard from her.
Right. No one knows.
Only really heard
honestly,
from her parents.
her
Only
and
heard a
God.
statement that was issued through her attorney. We do not know if she had a mental health. We know what her life was like in these last few days, these last few weeks, these last few months. If something tragic happened or if her mental health, we have to be open-minded, but we also have to be open-minded in the sense that it can't be scapegoated. Mental health cannot be the scapegoat and just the easy way out to introduce that into your defense just to establish a plea of not guilty. You have to prove, as someone who discusses mental health on live streams and quite a bit, you have to demonstrate that just like if you had a broken leg, you need to demonstrate that you have a mental health issue. Just because mental health isn't seen like a broken leg, you can't visibly see a mental health issue unless it's severe. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be proven. It still has to be proven that you did suffer from. And of course, all right, so if she did have a mental health episode, then she will have to be evaluated. A psychologist, a psychiatrist will have to examine her and interview her, and it'll have to be demonstrated.
Yep.
EMC wants to know, can you respond why most of your viewers are concerned with her natural hair? Well, because a lot of the pictures that you see here on your screen are of her wearing a wig, and the wig was found on the side of the interstate. So her appearance, EMC, is very much key to this case, because there, with if you're wearing a hairpiece versus when you're not wearing a wig, your appearance could be dramatically different. It can be dramatically different. And when the search was at its peak, the parents and I think friends as well were putting out a lot of the images that were being shared were of her wearing a wig. If her wig was found on the side of the road as it was, then she might appear to be quite different without the hairpiece. So that is why it's such a big part of this case, is because it's a fair question to ask. Could Carlee Russell have walked into a diner in Alabama and not been recognized simply because she didn't have her wig on, and all the pictures that were being distributed by the media were of her wearing a wig? This comes down to the whole the Instagram.
There may not be any. She
When
may
your
not have
social
any
media
photos,
pictures,
or
you're
that
usually
may have
looking
been the
your
only
best.
photos that the
And if
family
for
released.
somebody who wears wigs, that's more times than not going to be when you're wearing your wig. So then what does a person look like when they're not wearing a wig? Well, social media isn't the best place to go to sometimes, because people try to keep appearances and look their best, especially on social media. No mugshot posted yet that I have seen. Hey, mods, help me out. If we see any, mugshot come in, I'm live streaming here, but try to get my attention if you can. And let's just do a refresh here. Also, sometimes, what I will say is that sometimes a mugshot,
I agree, Mandy.
press release, and, posted to the jail website. So a piece of paper was, and it had a thumbnail of the mug. It's very rare that it happens that way, but I've seen it happen that way, is what I'm trying to say. All right, some other comments. This is all about your reaction here, folks, and answering your questions and comments. Again, all fact-based, interactive journalism here in the W.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my.
we're just looking at a couple of
we were
misdemeanor
talking
charges
about
for old
Phil
for young
asks, do you
Carlee.
think that she did this because Gabby Petito got a lot of attention? Look, we
It's all
don't know
No one knows
why Carlee Russell did this. Again, she has admitted to it through a statement to her attorney. Really talking about missing persons cases maybe more than ever. A lot of it social media, because people can our streams to help in missing person situations. Of course we're going to use it. Of course we're going to spread the word. Person a stratosphere that it just becomes the story that everyone's talking about, because people want answers to the unanswered questions. It happened with Gabby Petito. It happened, of course, with Carlee, not to be mixed up. It happened with other missing.
I'm not familiar with that.
My goodness, the Harmony Montgomery, who was missing for a little girl missing for 2 years before anyone knew about it. So
That's
missing
insane.
persons cases sometimes reach a level where it goes beyond a local news market. It goes beyond the city or state level, and people across the country or around the world are talking about it. That happened with Gabby Petito, and it happened with Carlee Russell. The difference is that
Gabby Petito
one
case
was genuinely
legit.
missing, and the other admitted that it was all made up. But as we compare a missing white girl to a missing black girl. It should not, one should not just, it has nothing to, look, it's very important that we keep an open mind to missing persons cases. As the Alabama Police Department said, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of background, there's so many factors that come into play. But the reason that Gabby Petito got so, this is as someone who covered that story, maybe more, just about as much as any reporter out there, the reason that the Gabby Petito story got so much coverage is because there was this massive unanswered question
With her boyfriend.
as to Gabby's whereabouts and whether or not she was alive. And it applied to Carlee Russell here as well. Massive unanswered questions. What happened to
You
Carlee?
took the
How did
words
she
right out of my
vanish?
mouth, Mandy.
Who
He's
abducted
stumbling
her? We
all
know
over his
the
words
abduction
because
took
he
place
ain't trying to
abducted
get
her.
lose his job. And that's bad.
And
that
what happened
word.
to the toddler?
That's where we are these days.
When an unanswered question can really stick in someone's mind, and you might see it on Facebook, or you might see it on YouTube, you might see it on Twitter or Instagram, your social media platform of choice. But then you'll find yourselves later that question will still stick in your head. What happened to Gabby Petito on that cross-country road trip? What happened to Carlee Russell on the side of Interstate 459? But again, it comes back to a lot of this. It should not come down to race, gender, or if a missing person is a missing person. And hopefully we can spread missing persons cases. But to tell you the truth, here on this live stream, we can't get to them all. It's overwhelming. Just in the state of Florida, thousands upon thousands of missing persons cases and thousands upon thousands of families that don't have answers. Multiply that by 50 states, and you have all of these missing people who just don't have.
And let me just throw this in there also. And in light of all this, you have a movie out now, Sound of Freedom, that talks about sex trafficking, kidnapping, all this kind of stuff. And the mainstream media overall is silent on the movie. The movie has made over $100 million. And you hardly hear anybody on the mainstream in Hollywood bring it up. They want you to act. They want to act as if it does not exist.
And many others. And then we've covered.
So it just really irritates me how people on one hand want to act as if they're so concerned about lost young people, women being kidnapped, children being kidnapped, them being trafficked, but yet there's a clear opportunity to enlighten the world, enlighten the public about the problem of human trafficking. And for the most part, there's silence. Or if you hear anything, anyone talking about the movie is negative.
Did not get that level of exposure when it might have helped.
Don't make no sense.
My goodness, it makes your heart sink. Yeah. But
anyway,
did Carlee Russell do this for fame?
That's what somebody was just asking her, and then they just report on
Carlee Russell. Still no mugshot, right? Checking here. God, I can't get used to Twitter being X. I just can't.
Her line about seeing a child makes me
Sorry,
feel angry.
Elon.
Yeah, she just wanted that extra attention. She wanted more
time
people to be talking
for me to
about
just
it,
say I'm going to
draw more attention to it.
To search
It's really weird
for stuff.
Really weird. Not
weird.
Somehow she believed that she would be able to get over,
Kind of confusing.
Shows
to tell you the
how
truth.
naive she really is.
It's head scratching decision. But again, we really hope that more missing person, let me make this clear, the real missing persons cases, regardless of your wealth, your race, your gender, your education, doesn't matter. Regardless of all those facts, a missing person is a missing person. Think of all those families when someone just completely vanishes. The real missing persons cases deserve attention. And let this be a call for people out there to not get discouraged.
Why not talk
by
about the Sound of
one
Freedom movie? I
incident
bet if I
where we
talk
have
about that in the
somebody
comments, I'm sure for the
not
most
telling
part
the
that
truth.
would be ignored.
There are other missing
At least
persons cases
by
out
this,
there that
news station.
require our attention. That's why
Sounds
in the
good to
last
say
week
all
I've
that,
tried to
but
retweet as many as I could.
He probably knows he can't talk
sharing
about
them
it.
out on social media platforms, trying to get the word out.
Anyway, y'all, I'm wrapping
there
it
are
up. Thanks
fears
for
that
joining me on
people
this
who are,
live feed. I appreciate it.
brothers, sisters, who are
Comment
just
as if you didn't join me on
hashtagging
the live feed. Comment
hashtagging
below.
Carlee
What are your
Russell
thoughts on this
just
whole
to say,
situation?
hey, can
Pretty
we look at a
nuts, was it
real
not?
missing persons case?
Was it not pretty
Can you
crazy?
imagine being that person and
2
feeling
misdemeanors. What do
hopeless
you think she
watching
should have
all of
gotten? Should
the
they
Carlee
have tried to
Russell
find
attention
something a bit more serious? But kind of tough. It's really kind of tough. It's really kind of difficult to be able to find the appropriate charges and remain being consistent and remain and be able to work within the bounds of the law. So it's pretty tough. Hey, Steve, I'm about to wrap it up, brother. I appreciate you jumping in, even if it's at the last moment. So if you want to, you can check out you can rewind it on YouTube or whatever. But I definitely appreciate you stopping in. But yeah, folks, it's pretty crazy how this whole thing went down, and basically nothing's going to come. Well, I can't say nothing, but in light of how much this thing blew up, how big this thing got, 2 misdemeanor charges is pretty much nothing. I don't think she has anything to really worry about long term. And the one
and not getting
and the one police supervisor, I'm not sure what his rank was or who he was, but he said that he's going to try to get with legislation to try to make sure that stronger charges can be pressed. This is something that should have been done a long time ago. This shouldn't be something that they're trying to figure out just now, because this has been a problem throughout law enforcement. People pressing or trying to create false charges.
And again, why is the mugshot a big deal?
False
It's a big
allegations.
deal because we've been talking about Carlee Russell for weeks.
Anyway,
and this is the first time we're going to.
I'm out of here, y'all. God bless. Take care.